I'm Jared.
I'm Marcus.
And I'm Matthew.
Level with us. Hello and welcome to Level with Us, the show where we have a cozy video game discussion every week. And this week we are talking about Kirby and the Forgotten Land, which just came out on the Switch. And for this episode, we really wanted to bring on a verified Kirby expert. Some might say the father of Kirby. But Mr. Sakurai declined. So we have the next best thing. Here with us is the creator of the popular webcomic Brawl in the Family and the developer of the indie game Tadpole Treble, Matthew Taranto.
Hi everyone. Yes, I guess I'm more of the strange, adoring fan of Kirby than anything.
I would say like the uncle that sort of like tries to adopt Kirby.
Yeah, that sounds good. That sounds good.
Actually, it doesn't. Now that I've said it, that sounds kind of strange.
Yeah, a little bit. But, you know, I'm a weird kind of guy. Yeah, so like they said, I am Matthew Taranto. I did Brawl in the Family and Tadpole Treble. And I'm glad to be here. And I'm very excited about Kirby's new game and his first real foray into the 3D space.
Yeah, it's kind of it feels like a milestone, but also when I started playing it, it felt like a Kirby game, you know? It didn't lose anything in that little transition. So, like, general thoughts, like, how have you been enjoying the game so far?
Oh, I love it. I think it's great. Like you said, I think they did a really good job just capturing that Kirby feel in the 3D environments and stuff. And early on, some people had played the demo and said, "Oh, I wish it was kind of more open, like Breath of the Wild or something," you know. Right. But I think the game does really well with what it has, because it's not just this kind of abstract set of like floating blocks and stuff. You know, even though it's kind of on a set path, you have this real sense of like place and atmosphere. And I think that's pretty surprising for this series. You know, like you've always had kind of the cute environments and everything, but to have this sort of kind of vaguely off-putting post-apocalyptic, whatever it is, but it's also mixed with a healthy dose of the Kirby optimism. It makes it really stand out in that way, you know?
I think that's one of the biggest strengths of the game, is kind of that juxtaposition between the cutesy stuff and the post-apocalyptic, but still not too dark, you know, kind of world. I agree with you. I think it was Arlo who posted a picture of Kirby in Elden Ring, or, you know, in Dark Souls, and like looking at that, I was like, you know, I still think that could work. Like, I still think it'd be really fun to just kind of put this character in weird or interesting scenarios, and they kind of captured that here.
It's just cool to be able to kind of go through this city area and recognize, oh, okay, this is like an auto shop, you know, and this is a big bridge going over a bay or whatever, and this is an abandoned mall, and you see like the little stores in the mall and they're closed, and I don't know, there's just a lot of little details that really feel like it makes the world feel alive, you know?
Yeah, for sure. You know, something I was thinking about with the whole like whether it should be open world thing, I think one thing that we kind of miss in all of these open world games that are coming out is kind of a curated experience where, you know, that in a game that's broken into level structure like this one, it gives it the opportunity to kind of make set pieces or kind of figure out camera angles for you and that kind of thing. So I don't know, I guess that's a more general thought about the difference between linear and non-linear games. But I think for what it is, I think that the format of it really works.
Right. Yeah, it's cool how they have these sort of shots, like the way things are framed and stuff, where there's this kind of deliberate sort of artistry to that. And yeah, there's something to be said for that as well.
I really like you said, the paths are pretty straightforward, but like going off the path and finding secrets is still pretty satisfying. So it still scratches that exploration itch for me, even if it's not a, you know, super open game.
Yeah, they got those different missions and things, and it encourages you to experiment, you know? Like just earlier today, I was trying to decide which of the power-ups to use to fight a mini-boss. I'm like halfway through World 2 right now. My 6-year-old kid has just been going nuts with it. He's further than I am. So he's playing it. He's like, "Daddy, look at this." I'm like, No, spoilers. I don't want to see the spoilers. So, yeah, he's ahead of me. But I was about to fight a mini-boss, and I decided to pick the ice power because I was like, oh, okay, let's try out ice because I know that this worked earlier in freezing a boss. And I froze the mini-boss, and it gave me like this little, you know, mission thing. It was like a hidden mission. I thought, oh, okay, that's cool, you know. that they reward you for, trying out different things and looking around and generally exploring.
Those extra, achievements or missions that you kind of unlock but just by playing the game kind of feels like the most modern aspect of this game, if that makes sense. Like having reasons to go back. One thing that I loved about Mario Odyssey was how there was a reason to get coins. There was things to spend them on.
Yeah.
There was a lot more purpose behind getting all the collectibles.
Right.
And I feel that here too. Like you can use your coins to help develop the town, and there are collectibles in this game, and the extra missions are really nice and really fun.
Yeah, and they took another page from Mario Odyssey with regarding that with the life system, where you no longer have lives, but you have a penalty of losing some coins if you die, and I think that's good. I think it's lives have their place in gaming, but for these kind of more open. I mean, I just said it wasn't open world, but these sort of adventures, you know what I mean, where you're kind of building up things and collecting things. I think it makes sense to have that, and then the developer is forced to make the coin collectible something besides just get 100 and you get an extra life, which are ultimately not very meaningful in this kind of game. So
yeah, I don't think permadeath would jive very well with the Kirby aesthetic, like
a roguelike.
Oh, Kirby roguelike. Ooh, that'd be really interesting.
Yeah.
We have a listener comment that I wanted to read. This is from Yokai Disorder, who actually commented on our WarioWare episode, which was a while ago. They said, I recommend getting the Buzzsaw Cutter as soon as you're able to. It's a great weapon for combat when you want to get in a ton of damage while the enemy is standing still. I think they were wondering kind of what our favorite copy abilities were so far.
I like how there's already a tier list being developed right now.
Is there really? Oh, man.
I mean, of course there is.
I've upgraded a few of them, so it's kind of hard to say for sure at the moment. My all-time favorite, just across the series, is Yo-Yo. But for this game, I'm trying to think. I have the second level of cutter, which is, I can't remember, the Chakram Cutter. But I don't know. I'm a fan of the new Ranger ability. That's pretty cool. Like, it feels like it's taking advantage of the 3D mode.
Yeah.
That's kind of what I like about the, I don't know what it's called, but the spiky ball.
Oh, yeah, needle.
Power up. Yeah, I just like doing, Katamari Damacy.
Yeah, that's basically it.
So that's probably my favorite.
Yeah, you become a pin cushion.
Yeah.
Yeah. What about you, Marcus?
I don't have I don't think I have a favorite copy ability, but I do have a favorite mouthful mode, which I actually want to hear your guys' which one is most adorable, because I don't really care about game mechanics in this case. I just want to know about which one is the cutest, and my favorite is water balloon mode.
Oh, I don't think I've done the water balloon one yet.
Yeah, I think I'm 1 or 2 worlds past, but basically Kirby puts his mouth on a giant faucet and fills up like a water balloon, and when you hop around, it is like the only word is blurble that comes to mind. It's just really cute to me. But yeah, do you guys have favorite mouthful modes?
I thought you asked what the most adorable was. I thought you were gonna say like what's the grossest one? Like what's the grossest thing Kirby puts his mouth around?
Yeah,
we try not to think
old
about
rusted
that.
pieces of metal.
Don't think too hard about where that car has been. It's fine.
Yeah, I'm really amused by his mouth in the stare mode. It's just this long line, and he's like, and then he falls on his face. So that one tickled me. And I really liked, just in terms of gameplay mechanics, I really liked the. I forget the name of it, but you're like soaring through the air and you go. Burp, 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 burp.
Yeah, arch,
yes,
or something.
And at first I was like, no, it's not inverted, but then I noticed you could invert it. Play it like Star Fox is how I do it.
Nice.
Cool. I'll be boring. I like the car the most. I think it's fun. There's like an all car level where it's like a little race course with shortcuts, and I really liked it. So sorry if that's a spoiler.
Nah, we're good.
Oh no.
Well, let's get into some Star Pieces. Star Pieces is the part of the show where we talk about cool little details that we find, or Easter eggs. And Matthew, you said you had one for us today.
Yeah, well, I talked a little earlier about the general sense of place, but for something a little more specific, I liked how they kept a Kirby tradition by giving you a couple like just weird little hidden semi-secret moves that I just kind of stumble upon. For instance, you have the block and you have the little slide thing, and I just kind of discovered on my own how you could block and then dodge, which is kind of a newer Kirby mechanic, but it also reminds me of Smash Brothers. Being able to throw up the shield and then roll into the side. Those are the main ones that come to mind for me.
Yeah, I don't think I've even discovered all of the moves yet. I figured out the little dash thing pretty recently, actually. How about you, Jared? Do you got a star piece?
Yeah, my star piece is Fuzzy Landings. Did you guys hear about this?
Fuzzy Landings?
No.
So there was like a big developer interview right before the game came out. So this is actually, not truly a star piece in that I discovered it before playing the game, but it was such a cool little detail, I wanted to share it. So the developers had, and maybe this is just a weird Japanese translation, but they said they developed something in the game called Fuzzy Landings, and basically what it is since they were trying to figure out how Kirby would work in 3D, because there's certain problems that come with that, like for the fact that he's a little sphere, so like knowing what angle you're looking at him can be difficult sometimes, and another problem that they realized early on was since you jump and inflate with the same button, if you're falling as Kirby, and you hit jump when you think you've hit the ground, he'll inflate. So they basically adjusted, if Kirby is close to the ground or close enough, and you press A as if to jump, he'll automatically snap to the ground. It's kind of like a similar principle to Coyote Time, like in a platformer, where your character might go just a little off the platform before, falling, so it's like more forgiving to a new player. And it was just really cool to find out a detail like this, and I think it's these kind of details that make games feel polished instead of I keep inflating by accident kind of thing. So I thought that was really interesting from a game design perspective.
Gotcha.
What about you, Marcus?
Well, I was originally going to say something I loved was just the fact that melodica is in the town song, at least initially, and mandolin appears as well, and anything that has melodica and mandolin, I don't know why, if I'm just easy to please, but it just brings me joy. But what you reminded me of is just recently I jumped off of Kirby's house, and completely unintentionally I landed on top of a Waddle Dee, and they bobble around for a second, and then they faint, and I found myself feeling oh no, did I kill a Waddle Dee? And the other one is just by at them and is looks at them wide-eyed, and then eventually they pop back up, and it was like a little 3-act play in 2 seconds. It was just a very charming interaction.
Yeah, I did something like that as well. I accidentally shot a Waddle Dee, and that played out very similarly. They hang on him motionless for just a second. It's oh no, what did I do? I'm used to fighting Waddle Dees, but now I feel bad about it. And then he pops up and is oh okay, hey, he's fine.
They're just so adorable. It's gotta just jab you in the feels.
Yeah, they have really been promoted from from Goomba to cute Kirby buddies you gotta save now.
Yeah, what's the Mario analogy? They're like toads now.
They're kind of like
from
toads.
Goombas to toads.
A little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Well, for every star piece, there is also a quick jab.
And jab.
And quick jabs is where we get to complain about something in the game, but not for very long. And mine is that when you share health in co-op mode, you give each other a little high five. But there's no smooches. I miss the smooches.
There's no smooches. No more baby bird style feeding.
That's right. Didn't you do a comic on that? Kind of just like a herc?
I did a couple of them, yeah. One directly with the feeding and one where there actually were baby birds.
That's great.
Well, Jared, this explains the review I saw of yours that said 1 star, no smooches. So now I understand.
That could
where
sum
that
it up,
comes
yeah.
Well, mine is related to buying stuff. I really like that you can buy stuff. I think that's cool. I think it's a good choice. But I'm not wild about... It's been popping up in a few games where you kind of have a chance to get new things. And it's sort of randomized. They call it the gotcha machine in this.
The gotcha, yeah.
But I mean, I'd rather just have I like the figurines, conceptually and everything. I'd just rather have them, be in set places, or, you just buy them directly and not have to worry about the randomizer element. I don't know. It doesn't seem like it really adds that much, versus a more traditional unlocking system.
It's like loot boxes. What are you doing here? This is a Kirby.
Right, yeah. It feels a little bit like they're kind of hedging their bets with some of the newer players, but I don't know. It doesn't seem necessary.
I mean, at least you don't pay real world money
that's
to
true.
do it.
That's true.
What about you, Marcus?
I think that it wouldn't have been too difficult for them to make it more difficult. The thing is, I actually do prefer they err on the side of accessibility and easy difficulty, so I'm kind of cool with this being an approachable franchise, but I do think that they could have added a third difficulty mode, and maybe they will in updates or something. That just makes it a little more difficult. I'm not someone who loves difficult games, but like I didn't die ever. Like I'm in the third world or something, and I like went through all of the boss rush mode and beat it and didn't die. And I'm not a very good video game player, so I'm like, I think that they could have just made it a little tougher, or at least given people that chance. But just an observation.
Yeah, I would agree. I feel like I actually do really like difficult games, but I was kind of waiting to see, like, a lot of Kirby games have these like post game modes that are super spicy,
that's
boss
fair.
rush kind of stuff. Yeah. So I wanted to see where things go, Yeah, and I think the game is charming and endearing enough to be really fun, but it would be nice to have an extra mode that's a little tougher. I mean, the original Kirby's Dream Land had a hard mode that you unlock after you beat the game once, like with a password, and it's pretty tough. Like it's legit. I mean, you start with half your life. Like you have half your life bar basically, and the bosses have different patterns, and it's pretty challenging. So
maybe that was an uninformed hot take. Maybe if I play a little bit more, I'll discover some of that difficulty.
Yeah, you can't make a quick jab about a game you haven't finished, Marcus.
I think all three of us just did, but I appreciate it.
Well, let's go ahead then and move on to our next segment. Who's the fake fan? Fake fan. This is the quiz segment of our show where we try and stump each other with nerdy trivia questions, and it's going to be difficult this week because even if it's not your favorite series, Matthew, I still think you know more about Kirby than both of us do.
Oh, combined. You'd be wrong. So. I'm the ultimate fake fan of Kirby. This is the first Kirby game I've ever played. I've been faking it this whole time.
Oh, man. You just saw a cute pink puff and you just drew it and you didn't even know what it was named.
I kind of took some guesses with like everyone's names and their abilities, and I just kind of got lucky.
Jared, do you want to start us off?
Sure. So this question is mainly aimed at Matthew, but Marcus can absolutely take a stab at this. So in the co-op mode of this game, the second player plays as Bandana Waddle Dee, who I've noticed is becoming more and more prominent as a character over the last few games. So much so that I think he became a recurring character in your comic, right, Matthew?
That's right. He did. He was basically the fifth main character after Kirby, Dedede, Meta Knight, and Adelaide.
Yeah, that's right. So I want to put your Bandana Dee knowledge to the test. I want you to name 3 games that Bandana Dee is playable in.
Wow. 3 games that he's playable. Okay. He is playable in... I don't think he's actually playable in Kirby Superstar. I think it's just Parasol Waddle Dee, who does not have a banana. He doesn't have a banana either. He doesn't have a bandana. Oh, I know he's playable in Kirby's Return to Dreamland.
That is right.
Probably his first one. He is playable in Kirby Star Allies.
That's right.
And I want to say one of the spin-offs, but I'm not sure which one. All right, hang on. All right, Return to Dreamland's got to be the first one. And then since then, there's been the games with the 4 Kirbys. There's a Kirby Clash, a Kirby Fighters. Now these games you play as Kirby, and you don't play as Waddle Dee in Kirby Air Ride.
Sadly, no.
Star Allies. Oh wait! I think I know one. I know it. Kirby and the Rainbow Curse.
That is correct. Well
nice.
done.
Thank you. This is tricky. It's a little tricky one.
Yeah, the only other 2 games I could find that he was playable in were Kirby's Battle Royale, which I have not played.
Yeah, me neither.
And Kirby Fighters 2.
Okay, so you do play as him in Kirby Fighters 2. All right. That's a good question. Very potent.
Marcus, do you want to go next?
I'll see how potent it is. I actually have separate ones. First one for Jared. Actually, I guess you can tag team these, but this one's for Jared. So you were just talking about one of the most well-known Waddle Dees, but what about the Waddle Dees in the background? The colorful cast of characters known as the Waddle Dees. I'm going to name off 4 Waddle Dees, and one of them is not the name of one of the Waddle Dees in town.
In this game, in Forgotten
In this
Land.
game,
okay.
specifically in the town, When you talk to them, their name appears above the text box. So it's not subjective. They have names.
Oh, boy.
I'm glad this is your question because I did not notice this detail.
I mean, yours is not going to be much easier. So,
Okay.
All right, Jared. We have Commentator Waddle Dee, Cafe Manager Waddle Dee, Weapons Shop Waddle Dee, and Theater Waddle Dee.
Okay, so those are all locations in the town, I think. So I actually haven't done, like, the Coliseum thing.
This is a super mean question. I'll just admit it.
I'm just gonna go with commentator. I don't think there's a commentator one.
There is a commentator,
Oh.
and when you first meet him, he says, "Welcome to the arena," which is very cute. No, there is a commentator, there is a cafe manager, there is a weapons shop, there is a Waddle Dee in the theater, but he's not called Theater Waddle Dee, he's called Usher Waddle Dee.
Okay, you got me. That was devious.
Well, this one might be devious as well, because I didn't know how far you would be in the game, but a little birdie told me that every world of this game, they all together spell a phrase if you put together the first letter of each
I like
word.
when they do this. They did this in Return
They've
to
done
Dreamland.
it before. Do you remember what that one was? If you do, that'll count
Okay,
as correct.
Return to Dreamland was crowned.
Okay, I'll accept that as a win. Do you want to try to wager a guess what this one might be? I can give you options.
Let me see. The first level is natural grassland. Second
Natural
level
plains?
is something bay. Probably starts with a vowel, I would guess. Ever something bay. So ne. So the word is nepotism. That's my guess.
That's what it should be.
That's a good guess. That sounds like a Kirby game.
What they all spell out together is New World.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Well, hey, sorry for bringing the heat. Matthew, you weren't gonna give us questions, were you?
Oh yeah. Mine is actually mine's not too bad. All right.
Oh, good.
So this is just a general question. I like my callbacks in Kirby games. I like whenever they refer to past ones, and I noticed that there are mini bosses that show up that are more wild and woolly than before. But they have several that have been around since Kirby's Adventure on the NES. So I want I guess either one of you to name one of these recurring mini bosses from the NES game that now shows up in Kirby and the Forgotten Land.
I know one, but I don't think it's a mini boss.
Well, by mini boss, I mean those those fights in the middle of levels where you fight against
Okay.
kind of a larger enemy, but it's not like a big boss.
Okay,
you
well,
usually eat them.
Tell me if this doesn't count then. Instead of Wispy Woods, we have Tropical Woods at the end of the second world.
That's definitely a callback to Wispy Woods, but not a mini boss.
But that's like in every game. So.
It's a tree.
I haven't played much of the NES game, but I feel like design-wise, the little snowy Yeti walrus guys, I feel like they might be in the NES game. Is that correct?
That's shoot, what's his name? I should know the answer to my own question. Frosty is his name, and he is in the
Yes.
NES game. Yes.
Oh!
Very good.
Ooh, I got it right.
Frosty, yeah, you fight him. He gives you the ice power. And also, so far, I've only also seen Bunkers, who's got the hammer power. He's like the big ape.
Ah, yeah.
So yeah, that was my question.
That was a
Nice.
good question. I like it. I like that I stumbled into the answer.
I mean, if Jared would have gotten that one wrong, then he would have been the clear loser. But now I'm not so sure.
yeah. No, well, you said Matthew got yours right, so I think you and I are both the fake fans of the episode.
Oh, awesome. So Matthew has kept the crown, or kept the crowned, if you
Crowned.
will.
I have been crowned.
You've been crowned. Wink, wink.
We still have a little bit of time left in the episode, so I kind of wanted to turn the time over to Matthew and talk about this new huge project you've been working on.
Sure, thanks. I'm working on a book with Howard Phillips from the earlier days of Nintendo of America. He was kind of the guy that was in charge. Well, he's probably most well known for being Nintendo's Gamemaster at the time, which was a title given to him because he was basically the guy who would play the games and evaluate them and interact with the press and explain like why they were so cool. And his tastes just seemed to meld with a lot of players at the time that were interested in Nintendo games. So he was also like the editor-in-chief of Nintendo Power, which ran from 1988 to 2009, I want to say 2010. Like they ran for a good couple of decades, and that was like the official Nintendo magazine. You know, it was made in-house by Nintendo developers. So this book is about Howard's 11 years at Nintendo from 1980 to 1991. You know, he would wheel around Donkey Kong arcade machines in the warehouse, and he would playtest all these games. And he playtested like Mario 2, which was the Lost Levels, and he had some issues with it because it was super hard, and said, hey, maybe it'd be better if we, you know, tried something else with this, and that kind of one thing led to another, and we ended up with like Doki Doki Panic. There's a lot of stories like that I've made into comic form. Like he'll tell me, you know, each chapter focuses on 1 year of his time at Nintendo, and it goes through like a summary of the year and then like reviews by both of us for the games. And I have, you know, hundreds of illustrations across the book for these things, you know, different characters from these games, but also, you know, a comic that's usually 2 or 3 pages per chapter of just Howard doing stuff in the warehouse, playing games, having these crazy adventures. One time he loses part of his finger. There's a butter sculpture of Donkey Kong at one point that they keep in the warehouse until it gets really grody. Just a bunch of stuff. A whole lot of just insider stories about Nintendo of America from the guy who was there. And as a fan, you know, this has been like a dream job for me, because it's just, on one hand, it's really cool just learning about all this stuff, but another, it's great being a part of it. So that's Gamemaster Classified. It's a book that's going to be coming out probably in a few months. We did a Kickstarter for it last year, and we're closing in on the end of it right now. But, you know, you can pre-order it now. You can check out the Kickstarter for more information and samples of the pages, and I update every month. So that's the main thing I'm doing right now, and that's a lot of fun. I think anyone that's got an interest in Nintendo or video game history would really like it. And if you like the stuff I've done, it's got a layout kind of like a magazine. You know, it's very colorful. It's got a bunch of different illustrations. There's a lot to look at.
I'm sure you've answered this question before, but how did you meet Howard Phillips in the first place? Did you kind of just stumble into each other, or did you search him out and kind of brainstorm this idea for a book? Right.
Well, that was a stroke of luck because of Brawl in the Family. When Nintendo Power had announced that they were ending, I thought, oh man, Nintendo Power's ending. This is kind of upsetting. I gotta make a comic about this. And I was thinking about what to do. I remembered that Nintendo Power had the Howard and Nestor comics, and I thought it'd be nice to just make a little tribute to Howard and Nestor. You know, kind of see, you know, have them talk and just kind of reflect on Nintendo Power. And so I did, and one way or another, Howard Phillips saw it and really liked it. And as luck would have it, he needed an artist at the time to help him with a Kickstarter he was working on for a mobile game called Know It All. So this was back in 2012. Man, so many years are in my brain right now. Yeah, I think this was in 2012. And so I helped him with that, with some comics to kind of promote that, separate from Brawl in the Family. And that had kind of a high goal, didn't quite reach it. So I hadn't heard from Howard for a while until recently, a couple of years back. He said he was thinking about making a book and needed an artist for it. And so he thought of me because we worked together and he liked what I did. And, you know, of course, I jumped at the chance to work with Howard Phillips again. And I guess the rest is history.
It's really cool to see your art in new mediums. I mean, I don't know you've done books for Brawl in the Family, but this is kind of its own thing. It's a collaboration, and you know, and obviously you did art for Tadpole Treble as well, which I hope people check out. It's on the Switch now, right?
It is, yeah. Tadpole Treble Encore on the Switch. It's got an extra level compared to the Steam version, and that's a game I'm really proud of as well. I did pretty much all the art for that, all the music. It was you know, my brother and I worked on it with a small team, and it's a fun rhythm game where you're swimming through sheet music. We put a lot of ourselves into it. There's commentaries for every level you can unlock, and just fun little cheeky things. It was just a lot of fun.
Very cool. Well, Matthew, it's been such a pleasure to have you on. Thank you so much for taking time out to join us today.
Yeah, it's been a lot of fun. Thanks for having me.
You can check another box on our bucket list when our favorite webcomic of our youth, the host, joins us to talk about Kirby.
That's great, because I have a lot of like good childhood memories from various things, so it always is really rewarding to hear from people who enjoyed my comic back when you know, they were younger.
I think that your relationship to Howard Phillips in some ways is our connection to you, because, you know, like, he's someone who's like, you know, maybe not widely known, but like really important and foundational to community, and I feel like your comic was kind of like that.
Yeah, in a lot of ways, I don't think our podcast would exist without Brawl in the Family.
Well, thank you. I
Yeah.
appreciate that.
Well, like I said, this was a lot of fun, but that will do it for today's episode. So until next time, I'm Jared,
I'm Marcus.
And I'm Matthew.
and we'll love with you next week.